Let's go ahead and start off our trending topic with a very intriguing stat of the day. All right.
It's the BYU
There we
Sports
go.
Nation stat of the day.
BYU men's basketball returned 69% of its production next year. That is the most of any team in the powerful Big 12 conference. Almost 70%, Jarom. Does that number and the returning production somehow change or alter your expectations for the Cougars in year one of what is just a daunting Big 12 onslaught?
Yeah, BYU's winning this thing. No. Thanks to John Rothstein of CBS Sports for tweeting this out. It is interesting, though, that BYU returns the most. Now, returning players doesn't mean you're going to be good per se. What if those players stunk? I think the returning production from BYU were good players. It's exciting. Foose, Dallin Hall, Spencer Johnson, Jackson Robinson, Richie Saunders, and a couple others. That's a really nice core going into next year. And a guy like Dallin Hall had to play earlier than I think expected, and he did a nice job, right? Spencer Johnson shot 46% from three. You always welcome that back. So
That
notable
was awesome.
additions. Now, Trevin Knell is not returning production because he didn't play last year. So he is an added piece to this team because he sat out last year with shoulder issues. Ali Khalifa, Quez Glover, Dawson Baker, perhaps still one more. It seems like they're very active and going after people. That's nice. But it doesn't mean that BYU is going to be higher than 13th in the preseason poll. I expect BYU to be in the bottom two as to what kind of the media thinks will happen.
It's either BYU or UCF, you would think.
Probably. And that's okay. Our hope for BYU basketball men's this season is that they are in the conversation. If they make the tourney, hey, that's great. But if they don't, they need to be in the conversation. BYU was not remotely close to being in the conversation in the final kind of 6 to 8 weeks of the season last year, and that was disappointing. So that returning production's nice, but again, familiarity doesn't mean quality always. But I think in this case, BYU's got some really nice pieces coming back, led by Foose and Dallin Hall and Spencer Johnson and Jackson Robinson.
What is the conversion rate of said production that happened in the West Coast Conference in the Big 12? Like, will all of those averages, scoring averages, rebounding averages, shooting percentages maintain as BYU moves into the toughest conference in America with better defenders, better teams, tougher venues to play in,
Papa
more
John's.
pressure? Does that maintain? So, yeah, I look at that and I'm
Not
like,
for everybody.
this is nice, but what does it mean in the Big 12? Because we are basing this returning production off of what BYU did against West Coast Conference teams. And in Cincinnati's case, and Houston and UCF, what they did in the American, but the American was a tougher basketball conference than the West Coast Conference.
Houston was legit. They were a one seed.
They're a Gonzaga, right?
They're a Gonzaga.
And the rest of the teams obviously have been
Recently.
in the Big 12. So their scoring production and these numbers happened against the current Big 12. So what's the conversion rate is for me? Is it a downtick by 2% shooting percentage? Is it you average 1 or 2 points fewer against Big 12 teams? Or does BYU maintain that and, dare I ask, get better in some regards? Because we want the players, like, we naturally think progression, like year to year. If you have experience, there's this idea like if you have experience, you're better. You're going to automatically get better. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that's the hope, certainly. But not everybody gets better year over year. Yeah.
So I feel like there is, yes, some players will get better, even in a tougher conference, and then there will be a drop-off from a few others. Even the transfers. You know, we brought up the 3 transfers. Like, we expect them to be immediate impact players. Their production in whatever conferences they were in before this, probably not going to be the same.
Quez Glover's not going to average 14, I don't think, in the Big 12.
Yeah, or the 19 that he averaged 2 years ago.
Or the 19 2 years
playing
ago.
for Samford.
Yeah, he doesn't need to. BYU's needs somebody, like, who's the best player on the team walking into the year? I don't know. I don't know who it is. Like, I hope it's Jackson Robinson in the end.
Right.
I hope it's, an Ali Khalifa type person.
The Big 12 probably thinks it's Foose.
Foose, just because of familiarity, though.
Yes.
Not because of what he's going to actually do in the league. He's going to actually get lined up against power forwards, which is nice, but he's still going to be undersized against many of those guys. But now he's not going to be relied on to play the 5. Foose actually has maybe an easier transition because he'll get a proper guard against him, meaning a proper defender, not a guard per se. Dallin Hall's intriguing as well. What kind of jump can he make? Will he even be the starter? Or will it be a situation like last year where he is the starter and Quez Glover comes off the bench? I don't know. I think there's some depth on the guard line.
That's nice.
Which is great. How quickly can Trevin Knell integrate into this? Is he the same shooter that he was last year? We hung out with him on the piece on the NOAA Analytics in the Marriott Center Annex, and we saw him make 81 of 100 uncontested threes. I was like,
that's pretty good.
Is that normal? That's pretty good. Can you do it in the game? Does Richie Saunders continue to be the energy guy off the bench? How deep can you go? Is Dawson Baker automatically a starter on this team? It seems like it, as a senior and a guy that
he might be the sixth man. Led
his team to a Big West regular season title. There are some options there. Is there like an NBA guy, like a clear talent number one on this team? Not yet. But let's see what this team looks like, because the dynamic is a little different. I like the familiarity coming back, certainly. But it doesn't mean they're going to automatically recreate what they did from last year. Like, if Spencer Johnson can approximate 46% from last year.
In the Big 12?
Crazy. Like, if he shoots 38%, I'm good. That would be quite the dip, right? Just shoot high 30s, and I am fine with it. What is Noah Waterman in all of this, too? Because Noah has some real attributes. But off the dribble, it's going to be tough for him to get involved that way. Is he just a catch-and-shoot guy that draws an opposing power forward out to the three-point line and opens up the lane? We'll see what that looks like. To me, Jackson Robinson is the most ready to step into a league like this and be like, okay, I've been in the SEC. He didn't play a lot, but like, okay, now is the time to him to kind of make that jump. He went into college at 17 years old. I think he's like 19 now. He's still very young. Foose is young. It's an exciting core. I don't expect them to make the tourney per se, but I'd love to be in the hunt for that. And hey, maybe they're better than we all think, and they make the tourney.
St. Mary's, and this is no disrespect to what the Gales did last year.
But we don't mind disrespecting St. Mary's typically.
Was at best. Okay, they were at the peak of the West Coast Conference for much of the year. They were the number one team. At best, they're a middle-of-the-pack Big 12 team last year.
At best.
At best.
Yes.
Like even Gonzaga is like maybe the fourth or fifth best team in the Big 12 last year.
Yeah, Gonzaga is interesting. They're anywhere. Yeah, they're up near the but they would do what Kansas and Baylor and Houston would do, which is you're going to lose 3 or 4 games. Yes. Like in league, they lose like 1 game, maybe 2.
3 teams in the Big 12 went to the Elite 8. Gonzaga went to the Elite 8. That was awesome.
Yeah, they always go to the Sweet 16 at least.
I didn't think that Gonzaga was better than any of the other 3 teams of the Big 12 that made the Elite 8, just head-to-head. So even if Gonzaga is the 4th best team in the conference and St. Mary's is like middle of the pack, that just to give you some context as to where that level of basketball was last year. So to answer the initial question, with this returning production of what BYU did as the 5th place team in the West Coast Conference, remember?
I'd forgotten about that on purpose.
Does this change your expectations for the Cougars? No. It does not change my expectations at all.
Yeah, who's like, yeah.
I expect BYU to win 17 games, and I'm sticking with that.
And let's be honest, they got to get a lot of those in non-con.
I think BYU is good enough with the Marriott Center Magic and these teams visiting Provo for the first time, and the crowd's going to be absolutely bonkers. And from what I'm being told from athletics, like tickets are going to be very tough to come across. It's a tough ticket because people are going to pack that place. It's going to be loud. It's going to be exciting. BYU's going to win some big games in the Marriott Center this year. They're going to love it.
There'll be a handful that we're like, dude, that was awesome.
Yeah. So what if they go 4-4 in the Marriott Center?
I'd take it right now, Spence.
Or 4-5. Like whatever.
It'll be 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
4-5,
take
and then
4-5 right now.
2-7 on the road, depending on who they play and what happens. And a couple of nights they shoot the 3 well.
Yeah.
Like BYU win a few road games. 6-12 is where my expectations are, and then a decent non-conference, which has been lightened up a little bit. 17 wins. Those are my expectations.
Yeah,
and that's me thinking
probably barely out.
Yeah. I think BYU is going to be better than they were last year, just with that natural progression.
BYU has a better roster, 100% than last year.
But no, we've stated this earlier. Like I set my expectations knowing after the transfers were here and what's coming back. That BYU is just running into an absolute gauntlet.
I said them before, Spence, where it was just like, okay, what's the bare minimum to just be in the hunt, right?
It's okay. 6 wins in the Big 12 in year one in that basketball conference is okay.
BYU probably needs 2 or 3 guys better than anybody on the roster for us to feel like, yes, they will make the tourney in the future. Like, they've got to raise that. And Mark Pope has said, we need more money for NIL. Like, in basketball, you're literally buying quality.
I cannot believe that, we're sitting here and saying, go 6-12 in conference. It'll be okay. But we're here.
Well, okay, not good. Okay. It's relatively good as opposed to actually good.
And I hope BYU surprises us.
Yeah, that's the thing. We can sit here in July
us.
and prognosticate, but ultimately, if they play and they win games, great.
Amazing.
We want BYU to go 18-0 in the league. Like, come on now.
Amen.
We know who pays us.
But expectations shifting because of this stat? No.
Okay, topic 2. Because it's July 19th, let's have some fun.
Yes.
Would you rather have season tickets to men's basketball or football this season?
Oh, man, do I have to pick?
Both are awesome, right?
Both are fantastic. And it's because it's year one of the Big 12.
Yeah.
Like,
next year we'll maybe feel differently.
Football is king, but BYU's playing in the most exciting, most challenging basketball conference in America.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that there will be at least 5 or 6 guaranteed home run games for basketball.
Like, we got up for St. Mary's. There's like 4 or 5 Gonzagas.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And it doesn't matter, like,
amazing.
Whoever's left off, like, BYU's going to play every team at least once.
Yeah.
We don't know which teams will be in the Marriott Center yet, but it's a safe bet that there will be at least 5 Gonzaga-level games in the Marriott Center.
It's going to be unbelievable. Like, as good as we think. I love a good, just random Cosmo clip from a football game, which just happened.
It's
as good as you think football is.
Football's king, but
basketball is a more intriguing home schedule because chances are you could play at Kansas and home Kansas. I mean, that's awesome.
If you have Kansas in the Marriott Center,
Baylor, like the possibility
Houston, Baylor.
Kansas State was amazing last year. Texas was unbelievable, 2 seed. Like
Texas Tech has a great program. Yes, like. Every game.
Who are you not excited about playing in the Big 12, by the way? Is UCF just the one where you're like, okay?
Yeah, like, UCF's like a Santa Clara game for me.
Where it's like, hey,
cool.
That's a good game, but it's not.
Good team, not
like quad 2. Like,
yes.
There might not be a single quad 3 at home in the Big 12.
If it is, it's probably UCF. Like, because
who's outside the top 75.
Top 75.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, like,
that'll be wild.
Even UCF, it's interesting.
West Virginia, I go, dude, West Virginia.
Absolutely.
Who's the head coach?
Who knows? There's a lot of drama going on there, right?
I didn't get out of this head coaching job.
Everything is exciting. Like, as cool as it is to have Oklahoma on senior night for football, and I am a football fan. Like, people ask me all the time,
really?
What's the #1 sport you love to watch? I'm like, college football.
It's football.
College football.
Calling is different because we're not like in the football men's hoops as much. You sometimes sub in and now it's the ESPN Plus era. Like, we're out of it. For football, men's basketball, it's like men's volleyball, women's soccer, like that's all fun.
If we're talking season tickets to just go and enjoy as a fan, and I have to pick one for year one of the Big 12, it's basketball. Because I'm guaranteed just an exciting game basically every conference home game night.
Let me tell you other reasons why it's men's basketball, but in addition to the reasons you just said. Because it's not going to be cold, and it won't be at 8:20 and go till like midnight, okay? Those logistical reasons, like basketball is predictably about 2 hours, right? Soccer is the ultimate go-to sport, by the way. It's just a hair under 2 hours.
Yeah.
It never goes over unless it's like a playoff game or something.
Now, what's interesting about this...
It's awesome. I'm with you. I think I say men's hoops, man.
We posted a poll this morning.
Yeah.
Okay? And currently, the answers are 79% in favor of football.
Is that because men's hoops struggled last year? The expectation of what BYU will do against said teams?
Yeah. I'm excited about seeing the opponents.
Right now, people are down on men's hoops quite a bit. Like, oh, no, we didn't make the NIT. Like, okay, you have an off year. BYU's going to have years they don't make a bowl game in the Big 12. Like, this is tougher. But is it about the opponents? Is it about BYU against the opponents? Is it I just like football more than men's hoops? Like, yeah, it's interesting, man. But February is going to be awesome because I'm not a skier snowboarder and living in Utah. So what I need in February to not be seasonally depressed is compelling men's basketball. Like, I need on that dark dreary 5 p.m. sunset Wednesday night, February 14th or 17th, not Valentine's Day. I need like something interesting, and it's going to happen in the Marriott Center.
On that dark, dreary Valentine's night.
17th.
Yes. I love football, too. Like, this is a difficult question.
Yeah. What if I said you had season tickets to all the other sports or one of these? You and I are big Olympic sports fans. That doesn't resonate, I think, with the audience as much.
That's tough, too. Yeah.
Plus, we're not in the ticket game anyway, but we love Cougar Nation that shows up, man. I love it.
My
And for every
goodness.
sport, by the way, just me on my soapbox, and you agree with this. The fact that we get to show up to these, you and I call the Olympic sports for the most part. We go to these games, and you guys show up at, like, everything. It is so awesome. Keep it up in the Big 12. It's going to be fun. Like women's soccer on a Saturday night against whoever, it's like, dude, it's going to be packed. It's going to be a big game. You guys do such a good job of that. Keep it up.
Well, and that will level up as well in the Big 12. The fans will show out.
Absolutely.
Our question of the day, would you rather have season tickets for BYU football or BYU men's basketball for year one specifically in the Big 12?
This is a great July 19th question.
And it's relevant because basketball ticket purchases are happening right now. Single game tickets for football go on sale in a little bit. Ben Peterson on Twitter says, football. There is just something about the atmosphere at a football game. Agreed.
Yeah, it's special for sure.
And that may be due to the scarcity of home games.
6 times
Only
a year,
6.
like very special days, right?
I've been in some electric basketball games, but that seems to be the exception more than the rule. We think that it will
Until
become
this
the
year.
rule. We think it'll become the rule this year at the Big 12.
Until this year, I think every Big 12 game is St. Mary's plus.
Electric.
Like, there's no more Pepperdine's or Pacifics walking into the Marriott Center, okay? it's not going to happen.
At Cougar Stats
In conference play.
on Twitter says, when you line up premier home games over the last 40 years for football and basketball, it is irrefutable that basketball has had the short end of the stick. It's beyond time for basketball, the basketball home schedule, to finally shine.
So
and it will. So
He's talking about the schedule itself,
Yes.
as opposed to any reason to go to a game.
Listen, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Cincinnati, like those games in LaVell Stadium are going to be awesome.
Yes, and it's not even, like, you don't even get Texas. You know what I mean? It wasn't
Yeah.
one of those. You don't get Kansas State. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Oh, man.
At least